Venom starring Tom Hardy is a movie that could have been far worse than what it was. Now, while I do like this movie, I do have my issues with it. But in this video, I'm going to tell you the things that I liked and tell you the things I did not like, to further illustrate my thoughts. Let's start off with the positives. Positives. The cast, everyone in the cast, whether their characters are spectacular or not, the actors do a fine job. Michelle Williams does a good job as the love interest Annie. Riz Ahmed, even though his villain is not that interesting, he does a good job playing Carlton Drake and tries to give him some charisma and some personality. But the star of this movie is Tom Hardy as Venom and Eddie Brock. As Eddie Brock, Hardy is really, really good as Eddie Brock. I like him a lot. He tries to make Eddie Brock really, really likable, even though Brock can sometimes do some questionable things. Pretty much the first half of this movie, we see Brock. He is a reporter, and he's a good reporter, but he's just not getting a lot of the traction until he gets the opportunity to interview Carlton Drake of the Life Foundation. Now, in the prologue, we see this spaceship that's connected to the Life Foundation crash land on Earth, and a bunch of symbiotes are exposed. But there are also some deaths. And the Life Foundation is trying to cover that up. Which brings us to this thing. Brock's girlfriend, Annie, she is a lawyer who is investigating this crash site. Brock is a reporter, wanting to go into his interview with some, juicy little questions. Kind of breaks his moral, does a shady thing. Snoops his girlfriend's computer, sees things he should not see. He brings these things up in the Drake interview. Ultimately, he loses his job. He causes his girlfriend to lose her job, and he ultimately screws himself with his relationship because she ends up leaving him because of what he did. So, I like how the movie, you portray Brock as he's not a bad guy. He's a good guy, but he does questionable things, and even though he's doing things for a greater good, those things end up biting him up in the ass, and he ends up losing everything. So I like how they did that. I like how they handled Brock's story with that. They did a good job of making him likable, but at the same time, he does questionable things that, come on, guy, did you have to do that? Now, because you did that, you screwed yourself. You deserve what you get for doing shit like that. So I like how that stuff gets handled. Now, when Eddie Brock has the Venom symbiote within him, that's where this movie actually gets really, really fun. And that's when Tom Hardy's performance really, really shines. When Tom Hardy is playing Venom, Venom looks fantastic. I think the CGI in Venom, to me, it looks fine. I know a lot of people criticize it, but I thought it looked good to me. It looked okay. The overall look of Venom is straight out of the page. He's big, he's massive, he's bulky. You got these protruding, sharp teeth. You got that long-ass tongue. And the voice he gives Venom is fantastic. I love that deep, growly voice. I like his sense of humor as Venom as well. I like the bantering between Brock and Venom. They really play off one another. I'm talking about Venom like he's played with another actor. He's played by Tom Hardy, but Tom Hardy gives Venom a distinct character and distinct personality that it's like he's acting with somebody else. It's fantastic. Only Tom Hardy can do something like that and make it believable. I like the parallel relationship between Brock and Eddie as well. Both Brock and Eddie are viewed as losers from their respective worlds. And I like how Venom sees a little of himself in Brock. And that's how those two, are able to be a perfect match, a perfect symbiotic match. And I like how the movie handles both of them. I thought that was really well done. The action scenes in this movie are actually pretty cool as well. They're fun to watch. The best one is the chase down San Francisco when Eddie's on a motorcycle trying to escape Drake's goons, and then we get that first big reveal as him and Venom, and it looks fantastic. I love it. We also get a nice little fight scene inside an office building, when Brock is in full Venom mode and he starts going haywire on everyone. And then you get the nice climactic battle scene with Venom and Riot, which is also just a lot of fun to watch as well. So yeah, the action sequences to me, they're really well done. The special effects to me, they look good. Tom Hardy is fantastic as Eddie Brock, And the overall look of Venom is, to me, straight off the page. The humor with Venom works for me. I know some people are a little turned off by it, but if you actually read some Spider-Man books, Venom does have a personality. He's not this, dreary guy who's brooding. He has a little spunk. He has a dark sense of humor to him, and I think the movie captured that dark sense of humor the best it possibly could within this PG-13 confinement. Okay, now let's get on to the negatives. Big negative for me, the story is not all that interesting, and the character of Carlton Drake is not interesting as well. I give Riz Ahmed credit. He tries to give Drake some personality and some charisma, but the character itself, he's just an evil businessman who wants the symbiotes because he wants to have power. That's pretty much it. It's very basic. It's nothing spectacular. You've seen it 1,000 times. Carlton Drake, he's a weak villain to me. I give Riz Ahmed his credit. He did his best with the material he did best with the material he was given. And for his first Venom movie, if you want to start off small scale, I guess it's the best way you can do it without blowing your wad on Carnage. But it could have been done a little bit better. You could have given, Drake and Eddie Brock more of like a parallel relationship instead of them having no parallels at all. At least to me, there's nothing I can't really compare. There's nothing to parallel Eddie and Drake to. It's just, Drake is evil. Eddie has to stop him. No, Drake is evil. Made Eddie lose his job and relationship. Drake has a symbiote attached to him now called Riot, who is an enemy of Venom. He's wrecking shop. He wants to bring all the symbiotes from their home planet down to Earth, and Venom and Brock have got to team up to stop him. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much Drake's thing. Very forgettable. Once the movie's over, you're going to forget that, Carlton Drake was in the movie. You'll remember the Riot symbiote because he and Venom had a pretty drag-out fight. That's about it. Another thing I don't care for is the tone of this movie is very uneven. You can tell that this movie was supposed to be more violent than what it really, really was, and you can tell that it was a victim of heavy, heavy editing. Very heavy editing. There's scenes of Venom biting people's heads off, and they're so quick cut. Like you see the headless body, but you don't see nothing. But you don't see any blood, and you don't see the actual visceralness of it. You just see Venom bites a person, his head's off, but he quickly swings him out of the way. You can tell this movie was supposed to be more of an R-rated movie, and because it got butchered down to a PG-13, a lot of that stuff got edited out. And not only that, the tone in this movie is completely uneven. There are certain scenes where this movie is going for is actually really dark, particularly the scene where we first see Riot latch itself onto a paramedic and it starts killing everybody. Then it latches itself onto an old lady, starts killing everybody. Then you do an awkward 6-month time jump, which is completely random and destroys the pace of the movie because it raises so many questions. Like, what was Riot doing for 6 months in this old lady that it took him this long to go from where he was to San Francisco? Really, it took 6 months. My suspension of disbelief can only be suspended for so long. Not only that, we established the fact that humans can easily be worn out when the symbiote is attached to them because the symbiote is basically a parasite. So how this old lady did not break down in those 6 months is beyond me. I don't get it. It's stupid, and it's a mistake you could have easily corrected by not doing we see the old lady, and then we see another victim possessed by Riot within a 6-month time jump. That would have been much more believable instead of what this movie did, which is completely unbelievable. Yeah, it's those little attention to details that filmmakers they just don't like. They like to ignore, and it's very frustrating. And it's just bad editing and bad text placement as well. Anyway, another negative I got is that it takes way too long for the symbiote to attach itself to Eddie Brock. It takes 40 minutes for Eddie Brock to have the symbiote attached to him, and by the time we see Venom in full form, the movie is almost an hour in, and you have another half hour left to go. So it's like Venom comes in the movie, to me, very, very late. But at least when we finally get Venom in full force, the movie actually gives us some fun scenes with him. So I can forgive it to an extent, but I would have liked to have seen Venom come much, much earlier. And that's where I think that this movie, again, was a victim of the chopping block editing. Was a victim of the chopping block. And that a lot of scenes with Venom are missing because, again, I firmly believe this movie was supposed to be more of a hard R, and a lot, since Venom is too violent, they had to cut all that stuff out. And you just get the tamest of the tamest stuff in this movie. Very frustrating when studios got a pussy out instead of going full force. All right, rated R superheroes can work. Deadpool worked and Logan worked. Venom can work too. He has a family. You'll get a profit. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So yeah, those are my basic overall thoughts on Venom. At the end of the day, I do really enjoy this movie, and I like how this movie set up for Venom 2. You get a mid-credit scene with Woody Harrelson as Carnage. In the few minutes I got to see Woody as Carnage, I'm already looking forward to it. To me, Woody Harrelson playing Carnage is perfect, because if Woody Harrelson can bring that manic energy he gave to Mickey Knox, and he applied from Natural Born Killers, and he applies that to Carnage, Carnage is going to be probably the one, is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. I hope that that's what they allow Woody Harrelson to do, because I think he can make Carnage very, very memorable. So yeah, overall, I'm going to give Venom a 7 out of 10. I do really enjoy this movie. I like it a lot. I do have, like I said, I have my many, many problems with it, but this movie has a lot of good things in it as well. I didn't cover every single aspect of this movie. I just covered the things that I found to be enjoyable. Anyway, if you've seen Venom, let me know in the comment sections below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I would like to know. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.